Hello and welcome. Today we are interviewing Helen. Helen is an exceptional person. She is very down to earth, very grounded, and kind of no bullshit. What she says consistently throughout is what you see is what you get. And we have a very, very interesting, very off script conversation, and it is amazing. And I'm letting you see all of it.
It's so good what you're doing as well, because I think, like, it's difficult, isn't it? Like, there's so much on social media now, and I just think it's probably quite difficult to even start up, because I always think about that. I'd love to kind of like talk about things on my Instagram or like, and just kind of do a video, and then I'm like, oh no, like I couldn't possibly. So I think this is a good way to even just have this conversation, you know, like with you, where you are having a conversation. I'm not just talking to like a camera, I'm actually talking to a person, which Absolutely. I normally prefer anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's kind of like we're going through that process like together
in
a way, because it is scary, but like I can remember like the first time I filmed myself down the street, and I was like, oh, it feels so awkward, but it was like fine, like nobody even questioned it.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's literally all just like in our brains.
Yeah, definitely.
I just think it's really fascinating, and I think that's why I've started this YouTube channel, because like the obsessive thoughts I'd have about like myself, sort of around like paranoia, and it's like, why though? You know?
Is it like worrying, like what other people think, basically?
I don't know, because I think I've never even received like bad comments really from other people. Like I've never been like told something and then carried that with me regarding like any of like my artwork or any of my content stuff. So I don't know why I was so nervous. I think it's, well, on my last video that I'd just been speaking about, I sort of shared with her like I had such a big fear of being seen, and anything regarding that just would freak me out.
Yeah.
You know, or when I would actually get what I wanted, let's say professionally, I'd kind of self-sabotage at the very last moment. And it's only really been in the past sort of year where I've actually been able to be like, fuck yeah, I do want this. I am going to follow through with it, and keep going. And again, with my like YouTube channel, that's even like another level to me in terms of being seen and publishing something online. But yeah, then it does just, I guess it's anything that you fear. The more you do it, the less, you know, you're not going to die from it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, you know, it's about like taking yourself out of the comfort zone. Like your comfort zone is very comfortable. It's amazing being there. It's lovely. Like, do you know what I mean? So then it's like taking yourself out of that can be really difficult. But it's like, actually, this seems really scary for you, doing what you've been doing, but then actually coming out of that comfort zone, has it felt more comfortable as you've carried on going? Do you know what I mean? Like it becomes like less anxious, you become less anxious, it becomes more comfortable. So essentially you're just going into like another comfort zone, really.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. And then I think as well, it's that kind of always trying to get the thing to become a little bit better can be seen as like a positive and a negative. Because trying to get somebody to want to watch, because that's the thing, you can publish something when you're still not ready to like fully be seen, you're not going to make them as good as what they could be. You wouldn't like share them with your like work colleagues or your family because you're like scared of them giving you negative feedback. But again, that negative feedback will only probably push you further, and some of it is likely going to be useful anyway. Would they watch this? No. Why?
Yeah. It can, like, the thing is with feedback, it's about how you use it as well, isn't it? So obviously you can take it in whatever way you want and feel a certain way, because I believe that, you know, like, you get to feel how you want to feel, but then also, like, what do you do with that? Like, what do you do with that feeling? What do you do with that feedback? Is it that actually, oh yeah, I could do it this way, or, you know, like, I could change it, and it could actually be for the better, or whatever it may be.
Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's about continuing on your own vision that you had, rather than molding it to somebody else's opinion.
Well, exactly, yeah. And that's the thing as well, isn't it? It's like, it is about how you, because everybody's always got an opinion. Let's face it. Like, we live in a world of social media, so everybody's got an opinion, and it's like you say, do I need to take that opinion? Not really. Do I need to take that on as my own? No. Like, do I need that to affect me? No, because that's just somebody's opinion. Everyone's got a right to their opinion, haven't they? We don't need to like it.
Yeah, for sure. And as well, like, you don't, because this is something that I wanted us to talk about, regarding, like, your self-perception and healing, like, stories that you think of yourself. Because one of my questions was, where do you think most people get their self-perception from? Is it mostly internal, or does it come from external? And as I was thinking, as I was typing it, I was like, I personally believe that it's usually from externals that you then internalize it. You know? So what do you think? How do you think somebody's self-perception is formed?
Well, I was thinking about this today because I was looking at the questions that you'd sent, and I was like thinking about, like, something that I kind of brought up. So I have therapy like once a month, and I went, like, so obviously when I went to uni, like, my, you know, like therapy, and we had to have therapy, and that's kind of where I would work, probably, like, on my self-esteem, like all that sort of stuff. Do you know what I mean? I was like, I don't need therapy, like, I'm fine. And then I was like, oh, all these things come out, and I'm like, this is so interesting. And we talked about, like, how I feel about myself, that and that sort of thing. And I think, in regards to kind of self-perception, it's like, when you think about yourself as a child, when you're an innocent child, you don't, like, so I used to wear glasses, so I still wear glasses now, I wear contact lenses. And I remember, like, being older in school and thinking, I hate wearing my glasses. Like, I hate it. And then when I look back, I think, because, and I didn't really get bullied, but people would say, like, it's so funny to me now because it's like the stupidest thing. Like, they might call me, like, Specky Four Eyes. And if somebody said that to me now, like, I just find it so embarrassing, and I'd just be like, are you okay? Whereas obviously in school, like, when I'm a kid, I'm like that. Like, I used to hate wearing my glasses, but I wasn't bored. Like, I used to wear glasses from being 3 years old. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't wearing my glasses at 3 years old thinking, I hate my glasses. So it comes from, like, and I always talk about to people about messages that were received, like, not like text messages, but like little messages that we get. And it might be that, you know, about our body, about the way that we look, about anything really. So I definitely don't think we're born thinking, you know, like, coming thinking, and like growing up thinking, looking at ourselves in the mirror thinking, and picking ourselves apart. Like, that comes from the messages that we receive, and that's either from, I guess, from, like, family, from friends, like, not, you know, from peers, from school, from, you know, for me, like, I believe that, you know, my thinking is that it comes from all these kind of, even kind of messages that we get from the telly, that, you know, it's not directly that somebody's saying you look like this, but then we're looking at, like, when I was younger, so I don't know how old you are, but when I was younger, we'd have all these magazines, do you know what I mean? And it'd be talking about kind of like, it'd be literally having celebrities on magazines being like, how much, I mean, this is still something that happens now, but I think it used to be a lot worse. And it's like, look at how much weight this person has put on. Look at this person with no makeup on. Look how look how they look, and the words that they'd use. So even though somebody wasn't saying to me, like, you're ugly, or you look like this, or you look like that, there's certain things that I think I've probably also picked up from, like, the TV, or from magazines, or, you know, from just from kind of society and the norms of society. Like, I'm like, when you were kind of asking me those questions, like, my interest is, you know, I follow people on Instagram and I try and follow kind of body positive people and all that. But then I also follow people who like pick things apart, who are like, look at the way that women are viewed in society. Yeah. And I know that obviously there's things about men, but I want to be able to focus on kind of like, as a woman, like how we are basically perceived as women and how we should look and, you know, how we should feel about our bodies. And when you sent me that email, I don't know if you follow, there's somebody I follow on Instagram, and she basically put a video on today about this woman. I don't know if you've seen her. She was in space for like 9 months or something, and basically she came back, and obviously like she looked different because she'd been in space for 9 months, but nobody was talking about this woman being an astronaut and how amazing that she'd done. They were talking about the way that she looked and how she'd aged. And I'm just like, and this was like things that are like written in papers, like still to this day. And I'm like, we live in what, 2025, and this woman is an astronaut.
So like the most amazing thing ever. That's like so
about how she looks, and I just think, how are young girls and women supposed to feel about themselves when this is the way that society is perceiving people, and it happens all of the time.
Yeah.
So when you talk about that self-perception, about where that comes from, to me, I'm like, it comes from all these messages that we get, like whether it's, you know, because somebody is saying these things to us, or because of the things that we see on social media, or like, I know, like, I don't even know if people read magazines now, but you know what I mean? Like, I think you can still get magazines, can't you? And they've got pictures on and things like that, but you know, TV shows, reality shows, like,
I think reality shows are a big one. Definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it comes from like everywhere. And I just think I'm really glad that you brought that astronaut example up, because that goal to be an astronaut, so many kids have said it when they was younger. Yeah. But to actually attain that kind of goal and career is probably one of the most hardest ones to do.
Yeah.
And especially to practice for it. And so for a woman to go through all of that and achieve one of the most rarest things that is achievable.
Yeah.
To then just come back and be scrutinized for how she looks and how she's aged, and
like the comments as well from people, like it's not just the media either, it's like comments from people, and I'm just like, it's wild to me. But yeah. I'm like, how are women, and like even like men as well, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not just going to be kind of like, you know, but I'm just basing it on my own experience and what I've experienced, you know, as a woman as well. But like, how are like even like just young people supposed to grow in this world where everything is just, everyone's just like scrutinizing everybody? And it's like, and I kind of look at things, so I think like I like grew up in the 90s, and then we didn't have social media. And then I think, you know, if you think about like the way that people, you know, you wouldn't, nobody, like, yes, okay, on the very rare occasion, obviously, like, I'm not like, obviously, basically, you know, people get bullied and things that I don't get as wrong. People can say nasty things, people can be cruel. But in regards to like the world now, people don't have to be cruel behind people's backs now. People can just be cruel to your face and just do it online and just type it out and write it down and send it to people that they don't even know, these people. And I just think, you know, like, you don't have to like everyone, because I'm like very much of that, like, you know, you don't have to like everyone. You might and I always talk, you know, everybody has certain judgments, and it's like, but why do you feel the need to actually say it to someone?
Yeah.
Like, what's that about? And to me, I kind of know what it's about. I'm just like, well, to me, when people are like that, it's because you're insecure, and that's okay. Everybody has insecurities, but what is not okay is for you to basically call other people names and comment on their body and face and whatever because you're insecure. Like, it's okay to feel insecure, but what's not okay is to project it. But that's the world that we live in now, is that people project their insecurities onto others.
Yeah, and it's like intentional cruelty and spite, isn't it?
It's nasty, isn't it? And I'm just like, wow, you must be really unhappy in life.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. I think I've seen like a lot of content creators be so affected and really shared their sort of like emotional experience through sharing their lives online and receiving the different sort of range of comments, and kind of being like overcoming it. I think it's mainly, I think one of the videos I'm thinking of was from Gary Vee, and it was like that person that's commenting such bad stuff to you. You don't have to do it, but it's like you have to give them so much kindness and empathy and love, because that's like everything that they're lacking. Because if you did have so much love and fulfillment in your life, you wouldn't feel the need whatsoever to ever post anything like that. It just wouldn't come into your thought process that that was ever something that you would do to another person. So in a way, it's even sadder for them, even though they're the ones that's causing the pain. It's almost even worse for them, because you have to sort of think, if I just take a step back and I'm not thinking how this is affecting me, but actually thinking, why in their brain do they think that that's like so acceptable?
Yeah.
And then just block them.
Yeah, block.
There's that part too. Just block them. Yeah, they don't need to be seen anymore, because clearly they don't like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so have you, what is the common age range of people that you've been working with?
So I work with people over 18 to kind of any age really. Like, I've worked with people, I don't work with anybody I've not worked, like in my career, I've not worked with like under 18s.
Okay, fantastic. And have they ever come to you about, have they ever, I'm assuming like quite a lot of people wouldn't necessarily call it like identity psychology, but have they come to you with common sort of self-esteem issues and body image issues, and what's kind of been your advice to them to be able to change it?
I mean, in regards to kind of like, I don't want to kind of go, because if I get on a tangent, I'll start talking about things, and I kind of want to like talk in a broader term, if that makes sense, because obviously confidentiality and things like that, like I don't want to kind of breach, I don't want to breach anything like that. So I do want to kind of talk in a broader term, because I mean, I could talk to you forever about this subject, even just based on like me, like, you know, like even like my mom, or like just women in life, do you know what I mean? So in regards to kind of my work, it's not where we would offer advice, it's about working out, even for myself, working out where does this come from? Because the thing is as well, there's so many different things, and there's so many kind of layers to different things, because everybody's experience is just so different. So for me, it's a lot easier to be able to talk about kind of my own experience, if that makes sense. And even like I say, even kind of coming from like my mom, where, you know, like she would never consider herself as like being beautiful. And I'm just like, but you are, like, you know, kind of like, and even when I was telling you that story about kind of when I was in school and things like that, like, and I have worked on myself, like, definitely, because I've definitely, and the thing is, again, everybody has insecurities. Like, even when I was coming on this call, I was like, what do I look like? What am I going to look like? And I'm just like, well, everybody looks so different. Like, do you know, everyone looks different. And then even, like I say, with my mum, where she would kind of say, she wouldn't, and when I was a kid, she wouldn't say things like that to me, but just as I've got older, I don't think she's ever seen herself as being like beautiful or good looking. And I know that comes from somewhere, like when she was in school, like the boys would say that she looked like a frog, like, do you know what I mean? So that is something that really stuck with her. And I think as she got older, she just always she never kind of, and I'm like, Mom, you look really nice, or, you know, like, you like, don't say that about yourself, like, because it's not true. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think as well, it's very interesting how people can nitpick about all these different things. But if you think about people in life, everybody is attracted to different people.
Yeah.
Everyone has a different attractor, and even things like, you know, we might have completely different like dress sense. You know, people aren't attracted to like the same person. It's like, you know, somebody who looks at somebody and thinks, oh my God, they're beautiful. I might think, you know, yeah, they're nice, but they're not my type. Or do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's so kind of, what is it, like subjective? Is that the right word?
Yeah.
it's so subjective to different people. And that's why when I see things where it's like people kind of slating people and, you know, like saying all these things, and I just think, and talking about how people look and things like that, it's like, but you might not think that person's pretty, and that's okay, but you don't need to say that. But I might not think the person you find attractive is attractive. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I went off on a bit of a tangent there, but
no, you haven't. And I love tangents, by the way. So in terms of like your own self-perception, and you like, let's take your glasses, for example, or you know, like your mom being like called like referred to as a frog and whatever. What kind of, like, have you done any like counseling on yourself of loving wearing your glasses, or do you sort of just go back to the contact lenses? And when you put glasses on now, do you like them, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's an interesting question, to be honest, because now, like, I wear contact lenses all the time, but I also have like an eye condition that affects my peripheral vision. So basically, my contact lenses, I feel like I have better vision with them, so I wear them all the time. Excellent. But I don't mind wearing my glasses like at all now. Like, it doesn't bother. It's like everyone wears glasses, don't they? Everyone loves glasses now. Like, let's face it. Like,
they are a bit of a fashion trend.
Like, everyone loves glasses. So it's like, but when I was at school, I don't even know where that comes from. It's so funny, but it's like, but kids can be cruel, can't they? Like, they would say anything about anyone, like somebody who like wears glasses to kind of, and like I say, I wasn't like bullied, like, but I just remember sometimes that would be said, so I'd feel really self-conscious of wearing glasses. And I remember, so obviously I didn't have social media, but we had like MSN Messenger and things like that.
Yes.
I'd be taking like pictures of myself, and I couldn't see because I didn't used to wear contact lenses, so I'd take my glasses off, couldn't see, I'd be looking at the camera, I'd be like trying to like make sure my eyes are straight and all this, like taking pictures of myself because I didn't want people to see us with glasses. Like, it's mad. And like, I've only even just kind of thought about that recently as well, because I was having like, so basically I went like, had counselling, because I had counselling when I was at uni, because the course that I was doing, you have to do like 20 hours. And I was kind of working on like my self-esteem and things like that, and just like all these different things that were going on. So I've definitely worked on it. And, you know, I'm always like, I'm very kind of like this advocate now for people, where I'm like, no, like, you should love yourself. Like, I'm dead cheesy with people. I'm like, you should love yourself. Like, you know, and kind of like, and people are just like, they literally cringe when I say it sometimes. And I'm like, I know this is cheesy and I don't care, but you should love yourself. Like, it's like, and you know, it's almost like this like movement, isn't it? This self-love movement. But it's like, people do not put themselves first. And to me, I don't understand it, because that, like, I remember being in therapy, and I was talking about a relationship that I was in, which wasn't a good relationship. And she was like, but you don't see yourself as important. I was like, excuse me? I'm so important. Like, of course I do. What are you talking about? And she's like, if you saw yourself as important, you wouldn't let this person treat you this way. I was like, and you get like that light bulb moment. And I was like, oh my God, that's so true. Like, you know, like, just because of the way that I was being treated, I was like, so clearly I was like, I've got low self-esteem. Because if I thought I was important and backed myself and thought like these things about us, I wouldn't be letting somebody treat me this way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I've worked on myself, and I think I'm not going to say like I'm not still working on myself, because I'm still a massive work in progress in regards to, you know, like when I feel good, I'm like, you know what, I look lush, I look amazing. Like I can tell myself that. Yeah, so I can back myself. Like for me, I think at the minute I'm like working on how I feel in my own skin, like in my body. So that's just another thing that is kind of like something that I'm just like working on. But I think, like I said, I always feel like everybody's a work in progress, aren't they? And things change in life, and you go through so much stuff where like things always happen, and things can happen where, you know, sometimes you have good days, sometimes you have bad days, sometimes you feel really good and sometimes you don't. And I think that like that's okay as well. I think a lot of the time it's like we want to feel good all the time, but also like be okay with, you know, sometimes not feeling good. But it's when it becomes a problem when it's constantly all the time. Like people have such a negative like inner voice as well, where like, and I understand it, and a lot of people, you know, are kind of like worried about what other people think a lot of the time, where not that I don't have that, because obviously I've spoke to you today where I'm like, what do I look like, whatever, but it's not as, it's like some people have that constantly, and for me, like I can have that sometimes, but I'm very much like, you know, kind of like what you see is what you get. Like if you don't like it, that's okay as well. Like, and you know, like I think being able to just not give a shit,
yeah,
what people think, because you can't read people's minds, and they're not going to tell you.
You what? Sorry, say that again.
You can't read people's minds. Like no. You can't predict what people think about you. You can't read their minds, and most of the time they're not going to tell you how they think anyway.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think that, because I think even if you start a open and honest conversation, half the time they're not telling, because sometimes they don't even know how they feel about themselves. Sometimes they actually don't know how they feel about you, or they think about you. Really, they might be able to pick out a few key things.
Yeah,
but sometimes they just don't even know either. And it is kind of regardless anyway, especially if it's stopping you from trying to achieve something. It doesn't necessarily matter, but you can strive. I think there's such a fine balance, because like, let's say you've got a job interview and you want to give a really good impression and you want to sort of show up as this person. I think that is very different to somebody how you'd like to show up differently for like a friend or a romantic partner. I think they're all very different, and it's kind of like the principles are sort of pro and cons in all of the different situations.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Sorry, go on.
Like you say, there's certain situations where you're not going to go into an interview and be like, I don't give a shit what you think about me.
Yeah, literally.
Put your best foot forward, don't you? And there are situations like that. But I think, you know, people care a lot about what strangers think of them. And it's like, you're never going to see that person ever again in your life, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of going back to what you said before about, you know, having good days and having bad days, like I think when I actually started researching about like my cycles and understanding my hormonal emotions, that was like a big, because I didn't do it for years.
Yeah, like, well, the thing is, we don't even get taught. You get taught like when you start your period, you're like, right, here's some pads.
Here's a pack of pads.
There you
Change
go.
every couple of hours and you'll be
Yeah, literally. And it's like, there's so much that, like, and I think I was listening to a podcast the other day and talking about like women's health, and about how the medical system, it was always like research was based on men's health.
Yeah.
Or there's like this massive thing at the minute around women's health and like women not knowing what's going on with their body. I was listening to it this morning, actually. I'm sure it was, I can't remember which podcast it was, but I was listening to it I'm sure it was this morning, and they're talking about like how women, obviously you get cramp when you have a period, but then they're saying, oh, you know, like sending women away, being like, you know, like it's just normal that you're in this crippling pain. And they're like, this cannot be normal. Like, yes, you should have some discomfort, some pain, but women are being told like, oh, it's just normal. And then they're finding out all these different things that people have, like, you know, like PCOS. I think that's what it's called, PCOS, isn't it? And like other things that are going on for them as well, like endometriosis is a big thing, and you know that people have, and they're just being like fobbed off, and it's like
over period pains.
Yeah, it's like, no, I'm dying here. Like, somebody help us.
Yeah, if you find that podcast, please will you send it to me, because I'd love to watch it, because I do want to learn even more about it. Because I actually really love, I think maybe in like the past, again, I'd probably say in the past sort of like 6 to 12 months, I've really focused on female health speakers and female authors.
Yeah.
All of my books, especially in like the personal development space, because I've been doing it for about, I'd say 6 or 7 years is sort of when I started diving into like the personal development space. And it only dawned on me that all of them were from men, which is absolutely fine. Very great that they published their work. But also, even the men understand that female and male brains are very different.
Yeah.
Very different. Which is like an obvious. So I was thinking, there's no wonder I can't put the majority of this into practice. Or like I can only put in sort of the actionable steps, but could never really relate to it. So I think for the next couple of years, I'm going to try and just sort of dedicate myself to like female authors and female sort of scientists and things like that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I do have some books I absolutely love. Have you ever heard of The Daily Laws?
I haven't, no, actually. I haven't heard that.
It's really cool. So like, I like books where it's just like 1 page a day.
Yeah.
It'll have the date, like March 18th. Then it'll have like a memo and then like a thing. And I like doing that rather than reading a full book, because I hate leaving things unfinished. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and again, like I've not really found many female authors, but I do think it is phenomenal that I think it was like on Women's Day, it was something like it's only been 50 years since women have been allowed to have like a debit card or to get their own mortgage. And I'm like, 50 years? Yeah. That's like really?
Yeah. I always talk about like history and things like that, about like in the last 100 years, which is not a long time. Like it's like, this generation, certain things that women couldn't do certain things without like their permission from the husband, or like husband saying like, yes, you can do that, you know, like different things like that. And it's like within that time. And also like I think about this, is it called the manosphere that they call it now? About
I've not heard that term. Explain it. What is it?
So let me get this right. I think the manosphere is about all this kind of alpha male stuff. If I'm wrong, please delete that, but it's fine. But about like kind of all this alpha male stuff, and it's like people are like, oh, like, you know, all these things are going on in this space. But actually, if you think about the generations, like over the past 100 years, how women were treated in society, it's almost like, has it got better, or is it that we didn't have the time of social media, things got better, and then social media came about, and then all these people who are very misogynistic, like obviously again not everybody, but a lot of people who are misogynistic, that misogyny is like literally so deep rooted. But is it also passed down from generation to generation to generation? Because things have changed with certain people, but also, and obviously not all men were like that even in the past, you know what I mean, in regards to kind of like, you need to control your woman, you need to do this, you need to do that.
Yeah.
So then it's like, is it that generational thing of like, well, you know, this is how my granddad did it, you know, with his wife, this is how my dad was with his wife, and this is how you need to be as my wife, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And the thing is, like, even though, like, of course, like, I'm going to love feminism in terms of how far the female movement and our rights and things that we've just been able to do that we've never been able to do, like getting a credit card, getting a mortgage without a guarantor of a male figure. Like, I've never worked at a job, and I've worked in warehouses up north and stuff like that, and like never have any men been going to work to suppress their woman or like capture them. Because I feel like there's like that sort of narrative, and I think like in the real world it might be in different sort of levels of I wanted to say socialism, that's not the right word, like hierarchy of wealth. What is the word? You know, like middle class, your upper working class,
like the hierarchy.
Yeah, the hierarchy of classes. Of course, I can only speak from my experience. But never, ever, ever have I experienced a man going to work to do anything other than provide for himself or his family. Like, it's never been to suppress their woman at home. But I do think in terms of, I mean, I'm not very well educated on the patriarchy, so I don't want to talk about it too much. I do think that is ingrained in both men and women. And I do think all of our actions are more towards some sort of like political party, even if you don't realize it. Because if somebody chooses not to get married or not to have kids, that is very in alignment with some sort of like politics or some sort of strong views, because another person would shame them for it. Or do you know what I mean? Like, it's,
well, if you like, I think as well, like women now can choose to do whatever the fuck they want. Do you know what I mean? And that's like obviously amazing. And it's like, but like even probably in my mum's generation, it would be like, you know, you grow up, you have a husband, obviously like the nuclear family. You get out, you find a husband, you know, you stay at home and look after the kids, and you like, that's just kind of like what you do. And obviously like things were obviously changing because my mum worked when I was younger, and obviously, you know, like that generation did work, but like even probably before that, I don't even know, like I know that my nana worked and things like that, but like it's not that far back in history, you know, when women weren't allowed to work, or you know, the whole point of a woman was just to have a baby, which is just absolutely ridiculous. And I think this is where, when we talk about self-worth as well, the way that women are kind of basically, you know, judged when they've had a baby because of all these different things. Like, I mean, I've not had kids, but I'm like, you know, my friends have had children. I'm like, it literally changes your life. It changes how you feel about, you know, all these things. I listen to loads of podcasts about like women who have had kids and how, you know, like your life obviously completely changes for the woman. But I'm not saying it doesn't change for the man, but not as much as it does for mothers. And then in regards to like women who don't want to have kids, and they're judged as well. And it's just like, so what should we do? Like, no, I'm not asking because I don't want anyone to answer that, because we can do what we want. But do you know what I mean? It's like, you can't do right for doing wrong. And in regards to like the way, when we're talking about like self-worth, self-esteem and things like that, again, it's like, you can't do right for doing wrong. Like, I've listened to a podcast, I don't know, in regards to kind of like one of the girls from, she was basically on Geordie Shore, and I'm not just mentioning her because I'm a Geordie, but I don't know if you know who Paul Bronson is, but he was on what's it called now?
Let me give him a Google.
The reality show. But basically he started to do a podcast, and I think his background, I think he's a therapist. And he was talking to one of the girls from Geordie Shore, and she's had like loads of work done and things like that. And she's talking about how she's trying to like reverse it and all this kind of stuff. And her story was so sad, because she was like, before I went into Geordie Shore, she's got like quite a lot of followers on Instagram and things like that. And she was like, I used to think I was gorgeous, and now I don't, because of the comments that she'd get. And I was like, that is one of the saddest things I've ever heard. Like, she was like, I used to think I was gorgeous. And I was like, yeah, go on, girl. But then she went into like, you know, a reality show and got loads of followers, and people would, you know, call her names, and then she got surgery, and then people would say you looked better before, and it was like, so what? Like, this poor girl, this is her life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, you can't do right for doing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt it was just so sad that, I mean, amazing that, you know, before she went on the show, she was like, I used to think I was absolutely gorgeous, and she still is gorgeous, you know what I mean? But I'm like, and then when she went on the show and got all, you know, all these comments and things like that, and it was just like awful.
Yeah, that is actually really sad to hear, because you'd think that success would give you so much self-esteem and empowerment, and then when it does the absolute opposite,
it's so much scrutiny that people get, like, and I think as well, like, kind of looking at, you know, the scrutiny that women get, and I'm not saying men don't get scrutinized, because they do, but it's just not, it's not balanced. And I'm not saying it should be, because I don't believe that men should get scrutiny either. Do you know what I mean? Like, men or women shouldn't, but it's just like, and you know, like, I think it's
because as well, I don't think, like, say romantically, I think women value so much different things than what men value, or what their female friends will value, or what the male friends will value. So, like, if our female friends saw him bringing us amazing things, being really kind, and then doing whatever, they would see that as really valuable. Whereas if a man would potentially value more the appearance of their friend's girlfriend.
Well, even you saying that, I was like thinking, because, you know, I used, like, you watch like these reality shows and things like that, and, you know, like, you know, Tinder and things like that. Things are based on attractiveness, aren't they? Like, let's face it, like, the modern world is that you go on an app, you are looking at that person.
Yeah.
But if you boil it down, really, even men, you know, I don't think, they might think somebody's attractive, but if they started talking to that girl and they were like, oh, this girl is deadly boring, would that attraction level drop for them? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's just with men, it's just like, oh, like, I'm attracted to you, so let's go out. Yeah, I mean, again, like, some people do have that, but it's probably a very low percentage of people who actually kind of are like, you know, like, oh, everybody has to be attracted to someone anyway. Do you know what I mean? So physical attraction is always going to come into it, because, you know, I think if when you're attracted to someone, you can be attracted to them. You know, you can meet someone at work and think, oh, they're nice as a person, and then as you get to know them, and you think, oh, and then you start to fancy them because you find them really attractive, because you get to know them. And so it's like, even though people say, oh, like, you know, this is my type and this is my type, and it's like, but then when you get to know that person, you still have to be attracted to that personality, really, like you do.
Yeah, always.
Do you know what I mean?
And like your compatibility and like your love languages and like all of these other things then play a part in it as well.
Yeah.
But I do think it is very different. I do still think it is quite different in terms of how our attractiveness is more based on our physical appearance than a man's, even though the personality is still extremely important for anything lasting.
Like, people will talk about, like, I'll see kind of people like stitching these videos about, like, oh, my woman has to be like this and that and blah blah blah, and I just think, like, it's so surface level, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like, and I just think, well, you know, you're not going to be with someone that you're not attracted to anyway. Do you know what I mean? And your attraction level, again, is going to be different to mine, and, you know, your attraction level to that guy is going to be different to that guy. And do you know what I mean? So it's really, like, it's actually quite stupid if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
When people talk about, like, oh, you've got to look like this, and it's like, well, actually, if people really think about being in a relationship with someone, like, they probably like the whole package, you know what I mean? But then the friend isn't going to be attracted to their girlfriend, because they're attracted to somebody completely different.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So attraction is so subjective, but it's like this big thing that everyone's talking about, like how people look, and, you know, like obviously come back to us talking about basically self-esteem and how people feel about themselves. It's kind of like, why are we even talking about, why do we have to talk about this? Obviously we do, it's important, but do you know what I mean? Because everybody has completely different taste in every single thing.
Yeah. And do you think we do think about it as much as what we think we do? Or do you think there's almost like a level of that we think we should think about it, about how we look? I guess it's dependent on the individual.
Yeah, I think it is very prevalent because just all of the stuff that I see on social media, like again, like with, you know, people that I do work with, that I come across, that I meet, like me, my friends, and I think it is. I don't think it's like, oh, I think it is like, I'm not saying that everybody's like that, because some people, you know, don't care about how people look. Some people, you know, don't care how they look. And that's great, do you know what I mean? But I think it is a big thing around kind of like, it's like a societal thing, isn't it? About how people look. And, you know, like, I think it is quite a big thing that people, and again, not every single person does.
Yeah.
But I do think it's quite common.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so when you go shopping with yourself or with your girls, and I mean, online shopping is really popular, but I do think do you still shop in stores?
Yeah, like I do sometimes still shop in stores, but to be fair, I can talk even about the online shopping experience, because I think that's something that's really kind of, you know, important as well.
Absolutely, go for it.
So it's funny because I basically bought a pair of jeans and I tried them on and they didn't fit, and obviously I was the problem. Do you know what I mean? And then I was like, and I had this conversation with my therapist as well, and she was like, you know, the clothes are supposed to fit you, like you're not supposed to fit the clothes.
Love that.
And even everything in regards to like sizes, like me, my friend is like, oh my God, I ordered this and it was this size and this, I'm not this size. And I'm like, I'm amazed at it being like, listen, do not read that number. Does it fit you? Do you feel comfortable? That number's a load of bollocks. Do you know what I mean? Don't look at it. So yeah, like I can't remember. I mean, there will have been times that I've been in a change room. I mean, let's face it, whoever does watch this video, please do not look at those, like not even don't look at those mirrors in the changing room. But I'm sorry, but they are not realistic. Those mirrors and those lights, I'm just like, wow, it's awful. It is like, it's not a good place. Like, it's not, I'm just like, I do not look like that. So do you know what I mean? Like, I always like to buy things and bring them home as well, to kind of try things on. Like I do go in like a fitting room and things like that. But I think, yeah, like I can't remember, like, I mean, I've had loads of experiences in change rooms because I like to buy a lot of clothes, but I can't remember ever thinking about, I don't know, like I obviously do look at things and think, oh, it doesn't really suit us and things like that. But when I bought these jeans and I bought like a size up, because I mean, it's just wild. Like, I don't know if you've seen that thing on, like, I've seen loads of videos about it where somebody goes into a shop, gets a pair of jeans and gets the same pair of jeans in a different color and the two different sizes. And it's like, this is a problem. So even like, and me and my friend texted each other about it all of the time. And I got these jeans in a bigger size, because I thought, it doesn't matter what that number is, just if the jeans fit you. I got the bigger size, and honest to God, they were the exact same size because they felt exactly the same. And I was like, I can't win.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when I fit into a smaller size, I'm like, yes. And I'm like, get a grip. Like,
yeah, why are you bothered about the size? Yeah. And it's weird how we're like conditioned that like being small is a bit of a win. Being big is a bit of a loss. Or I hate that saying where it's like, you've let yourself go. Or, you know, and it's always associated to be getting like a bigger size. You've let yourself go because you've gotten a bigger size or something.
Yeah.
And I think that's
like a conscious effort now to never ever comment on somebody's weight, whether they've lost. Like, I would never say it about anyone if they put on weight anyway. I would never ever comment on that. But even when people lose weight, I don't comment on it, because I just think you don't know somebody's story. Like, you don't know, like, people, like, I know for myself how much I've struggled with kind of like my relationship with food and my body and things like that. You just don't know what people are going through. So I just don't even, unless somebody's like, you know, saying to me, like, if they're having that open conversation with me and that's great, I'm not going to just be like, not saying anything. I'll be like, great, that's great for you. You know what I mean? But if somebody doesn't say anything to me, I just don't comment on people's way, like, either way. I just don't think, and I try not to, because even like you say, we are conditioned, oh, you look well, or you look good. And it's like, no, like, why, do you know what I mean? In a certain way, I'm just like, I shouldn't be saying to people, like, yeah, okay, like, if I'm going out on a night with my friends, I'll be like, you look amazing or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But like, when you see someone that you've not seen for a while or whatever, and it's like, I don't need to comment on how somebody looks.
Yeah. I think as well, you know, when a compliment is about you, your energy, your expression, how well you're feeling yourself and radiating that, versus a compliment because you've lost weight.
Yeah.
Like, I think we can feel it. And I don't know if it's just intuitive or
don't, like, you know, if somebody's I've had it before where somebody's like, oh, you, like, if I'm like, I always wear makeup, to be fair, to work and things like that, but I used to wear makeup to Tesco, where I've got so much better now. Like, if I left the house, I'd have to put makeup on, where I'm not like that now. Like, I'm just like, if I go to work, I do always wear makeup. I wouldn't go to work without makeup on. But I like wearing makeup as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, I like doing my face. But if I'm working from home, even if I'm on like a team, I don't, like, it doesn't bother us anymore, where that was something that I would literally, like I say, leave the house and put makeup on. And it's like, if you've gone somewhere where you don't have makeup on or whatever, and somebody's like, oh, are you okay? You look a bit ill. And you're like, no, I'm just not got makeup on. Like,
I had that really bad in secondary school. You might be able to relate, but they'd literally be like, you look like you're dying. And I would even have that from like teachers. And like, even if I was like going to PE or something, they'd be like, are you sure? Are you all right? And it's like, I am just naturally pale. I am Caucasian, just like you.
It's just my skin colour. Like, as well, like, I'm really pale, and I wear false tan all of the time, and I don't really know, like, again, but I'm just almost like, oh, but when I've got tan on, like, I feel skinnier. Like, it's like, do you know what I mean? Like, just stupid things where I don't think, like, have I got better? I think I've got better, a little bit better, but yeah, like, I'm like literally always wearing false tan, like, because I just don't want to be pale. And I'm like, what's that about? That's just your skin colour.
Yeah. So it's just weird. It's just like a program in our brain that's came from somewhere to say that, like, you feel less dead when you're not lily white and, you know, got a tan and this, that, and the other. And it is, like, I do think, when you look at all the different trends, like, do you know, like, the trends of eyebrows? I wonder if one day we're going to look back on, like, fake tan and just think it was mental what we did.
I know.
Because it's like, back in the day, I can remember when I first saw, like, I don't know, like, Victorian clothes. And I can remember thinking, like, why the fuck would a woman wear a hoop skirt and a corset? Like, yeah, they look cool, but they look so uncomfortable. And now, like, literally, like, the other day, I'm like looking at corset tops because I just think they look like so sexy and hot. And, like, it's mental how we go through different stages of, like, accepting what we want to experience and the comfort that our body will experience, dependent on the trends and what other women have gone through years ago and how they're coming up now. Because do these corset tops look unbelievable? Yes.
Yeah.
Do I want to be suffocating? No. So I know. Maybe we'll get a stretch one.
Like, if you watch Bridget, and I just think, oh my god, they're just sitting in the, like, in the living room, like.
I feel sorry for the actors.
I look so uncomfortable. Like, I always got my gym leggings on. Like,
yeah, girl, go get a hoodie on and breathe. But yeah, awesome. I'm loving this. I think it's great. Do you have any go-tos in terms of any actionable steps of how somebody can take them first steps to heighten their self-worth? So do you know what you said when you was in therapy about thinking that you wasn't an important person?
Yeah.
If somebody can't access therapy, or is like a little bit too unsure because they don't feel ready enough to go and unpack all of that, and they kind of just want to take them first steps to bettering themselves.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I would say, because like everyone has a different story, don't they? And I think like obviously like the internet has a lot of good things on. You know, there's so many resources out there that are free. Like there's stuff on like YouTube, like there's books, there's, you know, I listen to podcasts all the time. And I think for me it's about, if you are following someone who just makes like, and not intentionally makes you feel bad, just because, you know, you just look at them and you think, wow, they look amazing and blah blah blah, and it makes you feel bad. It's not them intentionally doing that, but like to unfollow people like that and follow people where you feel good about yourself. I think, again, like I say, it's not that people are, you know, there's loads of people online, isn't there, who just look amazing and, you know, like who we look up to and things like that. But if it's making you feel worse about yourself, I always say, you know, like just don't follow them, or just don't follow them for a bit until you feel a bit better about things. And, you know, look at things that are really going to help in regards to kind of like, I think there's so many, like I say, resources out there that we don't utilize. Like I listen to like a lot of podcasts there is, you might follow her. She's called Alex Light, and she does a lot about body positivity, and she's got a podcast called Should I Delete That? And I started listening to the first episode, and they've got quite a lot of episodes, but with podcasts, I have to go back to the beginning. Like, I can't. I can't start from and they spoke to someone, and I don't know if she was a therapist or like a life coach or something. And she was amazing, and she was talking about like the power of saying no as well, because people find it difficult to say no. You know, and kind of like people are like people pleasers and things like that. And I think it is about like putting yourself first. Like it can be really difficult to do that because we're not really taught. Like when we were younger, I think generations are changing now, because I see a lot of things on social media where people are basically having their little kids in the mirror being like, you tell yourself you're beautiful. And I love that. I think that's amazing. And people think, oh, I can't do that. And I'm like, when your literally internal dialogue is you telling yourself negative things about yourself all of the time, you don't feel good about yourself and you believe it. So why would you telling yourself that you look great and all that kind of thing, and repeating that mantra and going through it, why would it not work? Because telling yourself bad things all the time is working, because you really hate, you hate yourself, or you don't feel good about yourself.
You believe in them, yeah.
You believe it. So why would the opposite not work?
So do you have any that you use, or like have any like common ones that you say?
I just kind of like honestly, I know it's hard. Like not everybody can go into therapy, so I get that. And therapy has definitely like literally changed my life. And I think like I do a lot of kind of self-reflection. I do a lot of, like I say, listening to things and looking for things and kind of reading things. That really does help. And I think like, because obviously, like I say, you know, we all have down days and things like that. And I think being able to open up to people can really help. Because like my best friend, like I'll say things to her and she like tell us to, you know, like get a grip, and I'll tell myself I need to get a grip and that sort of thing. But I think like when I feel like I'm so different to how I used to be, where if I like, because I love getting dressed up and going out, and I think you don't have to get dressed up to feel good. I think if you feel good in your tracksuit bottoms, tell yourself do you know what I mean? It is about like backing yourself and just being like, I'm not fucking lush today. Like I feel good and I look lush.
Yeah, love it.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's like we do as a society like have that worry about what other people think, and it's like it's a lot. It's very easy for me to say don't care what people think, but try not to care as much about what people think, because, like I say, you don't. actually know what people think, and most of the time people don't tell you. And I'm not kind of, because there's so many different scenarios where, people do have people in their lives who are horrible to them, who are not very nice to them, who say horrible things to them and that sort of thing. So I'm not kind of like, being like, oh, just tell yourself you love yourself, and that's
for sure.
Like, these situations are real, and people are in awful situations that they find it difficult to get out of, and things like that, where it's reiterated. So I know that's completely different, but I just mean, like, being able to kind of back yourself and feel good about yourself. I always say to people as well that I'm working with, if your friend was saying this to you, what would you be telling your friend? Because first of all, you wouldn't speak to your friend like this. And if your friend was speaking to themselves like this, telling them that they're this and that and the other, what would you be telling your friend?
Yeah. You'd probably be telling them to fuck off.
You'd be like,
they were saying some like nasty shit to you, you'd be like, fuck off. I'm not meeting for you ever again.
But like, if you were like,
I think it's good as well. Sorry, go on.
Like, if your friend was telling you, oh, I feel like shit today and I look ugly, you'd be saying to your friends, no, you don't.
Yeah.
You look lush. You look amazing. Like, shut up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I do think is a phenomenal thing, I can remember when I was sort of at like the depths of like self-paranoia and all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like cleaning out my bedroom, and I just decided to look through my photo box, and there was all of these like photos of me when I was like younger, like smiling and giggling away, and I had like mud in my face and whatever, and I had like just like one tooth here or whatever, and I just thought, you're so beautiful, you're so cute and funny and stunning. And I think it was pretty much from that moment where I was able to like stop the internal dialogue, because I kind of had them photos of myself when I was so young. And I thought that was
like your child. Do you know what I mean? Like, you were a child, and you would never, if you look at yourself when you were a kid, you would never talk to yourself like that, and you'd never like. And we did a thing like in my session where my therapist was like, right, close your eyes, and I was thinking, all right, here we go, let's see. And then I was like,
wait, can we do it?
Yeah. Well, she was doing it where she was like, I'll tell you what we did. So she was like, close your eyes and think of yourself as a child. I was like, right, okay. And I was like, she's like stood next to yourself. Like, what are you saying? Like, you've got to give her a gift. Like, what are you going to give? And I was thinking, I used to have like a little bob, right? My mum used to cut my hair in a bob all the time, and I hated it because I was like, I want long hair. So anyway, she used to like do my hair in a little bob, and I had me like jam jar glasses on, like, and she was like, and then I opened my eyes, she was like, what did you give her as a gift? And I said, I gave her my glasses. And I never ever would think of that. And I was like, I gave her my glasses, and I said, it's okay to wear those. And I was just like, what the hell? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Because when I was a kid, I just didn't want to wear them.
That's beautiful that you actually, it's almost like you given her like permission to wear them from yourself, because it's like, you need them, you look awesome in them, go fucking wear them.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I love that. That's exceptional. I really want to go to like, do you know one of them like psychology retreats where like you lay and like you meditate and they like take you through that journey? Have you ever done any of those?
So I went on a Wild Woman Day, which was just amazing. So did that. And that was last year, to be honest. So did that.
What did you do?
Say that again.
What did you do whilst you were there?
So we did yoga. So it was a woman who did yoga at my gym. So we did yoga, and then we went round in a circle and talked. I can't even remember now. We talked about like different things, and then we did like wreath making, and we did have like conversation, like chat. I can't even remember what the chats were about now. They were quite deep though, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then what else? I went on. Have you ever done breath work?
Yeah.
So I've done a few breath work things this like over the past 12 months, which I'd never done before. So I did these breathwork things. Were just like one of them I went to. I was just like, wow, that was just unreal, like amazing. Yeah. And I was, because I'm a bit like not skeptical, but I'm just like, I don't know how this is going to work. But like with meditation, things like that, I used to always be like, oh, and like, you know, like this doesn't work for me. But actually, like I've done, like sometimes I'll meditate. Like I haven't done it for ages, but I did used to just do like 10 minutes in the morning, and it would like help with certain things. But yeah, like things like that. When also me and my friend went to this float spa, and this wasn't like it did have a meditation music on it, but you literally lie there like in this massive pod, right, on your own. Like you literally have nothing on, you're naked. Yeah. You lie there and you just float in this spa. Like it's honestly one of the best things I've ever done. Like it's not like like you can have meditation music, but it's just, you know, like when you just need to relax, you know what I mean? It was so relaxing. It was amazing. So I did that.
It sounds great just being there, peace floating in the water naked.
Honestly, it was like in the womb or something. It was like,
yeah, it probably actually is related to that.
And you float in the water because it's got so much like Epsom salt in it that you literally just float there. It's honestly, it was amazing.
That sounds stunning. I want to go now.
It was brilliant. It was so good. So did that. There's a few different things that I try and do, like for, like obviously, like in my job, you have to do things kind of like personal development things anyway. So I kind of try and do things, and like I'm all into that now, where I never really used to be, like just like these days where you go and you kind of like do, you know, like different things and retreats. I'd love to do like a retreat or something like that. I've not done any. I've done like that day thing, but nothing like where it's been
like a 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
Like radical transformation in like
But yeah, like some of the stuff, like there's so much stuff. I know obviously, like I say, like things can cost money and things like that, and I know not everyone can kind of do that, but like there's stuff online, and I've looked at there's a YouTube channel that I send to everyone and tell them about it, called The School of Life. And
I came across it, I think.
Yeah. So
is it the drawing one where they draw out books? It's like they draw out personal development books. No?
Oh, they do. Yeah, they do sell things that are like, I think, personal development books and things like that. But the videos on there are really good, and they're like, there's loads about like self-esteem, like relationships, about like anxiety, about like just life in general, the stuff about, and they're not dead long either. Like some people, you know, like some people don't like to watch dead long videos, but it's the guy who does it. He's been on a few podcasts. He's called Alain de Botton. He's called. I don't know if you've heard of him, but basically, it's his channel, and some of the videos on there are so good.
Nice, love that. I'll check them out and also link it in our description. So do you know, when you've been doing some personal development recently, what would you say are like 2 main things that have like lit up your day or been like such an aha moment or a pivotal moment like in your life?
God, that is such a hard question, you know.
Sorry. Or like just something that's like your favorite little go-to. Not necessarily little, but has it been like what's like a question that you've been asked that's been like really like aha moment?
No, I have to think.
Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot.
I know these things are hard for me to like think of, really. Oh my god, I don't even know. Like, there's so many things that like I just find people like very interesting. Like, I was talking to my manager yesterday. We had a one-to-one, and we were talking about things, and I was just like, I just find people's stories like so interesting, and I think like people are so resilient, and I think that's what I kind of notice like in day-to-day life, that people, like, I live in a way where I'm like very kind of grateful that for my life kind of thing, and I think like I look at people, and some people have had like really bad things happen to them. Do you know what I mean? And to the way that I just see like human beings to get on with things, I just find that like really just like amazing. Do you know what I mean? I'm just like, oh my God, like the way that people cope, I just find like amazing, really, when they've gone through stuff that it's just like some of the stuff is just awful. Do you know what I mean? Like you see things, even in the world, do you know what I mean? Even in like society, even people online, and you just see certain things that people have gone through, and I'm just like, wow, like human beings are just like unreal.
Yeah.
And like we have like a very short time on this earth, and I just find it sad. And I understand it, but like people struggle so much like with their mental health, which is really sad. And like, and obviously, like, don't get us wrong, where people have gone through stuff and it is really awful, but where people now really struggle just with their self-esteem and how they feel about themselves. And I'm just like, you need to recognize that like you're just unbelievable, like as a human being. Do you know what I mean? Like everybody has their own story, and the world is so kind of like like everyone compares yourself to others and all this, and it's like, try not to waste too much time on doing that, because honestly, like life is just very short. And again, I'm not taking away from the fact that people have really bad struggles and things like that, but when it comes to just how you feel about yourself, I just think like you are you, and everybody's just so unique.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at like any flower or any breed of dog, you might have your preference to the breed of dog or the flower, but that doesn't make the other flowers less worthy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They don't make them. They all have like a purpose in this world in terms of the earth, and also like you are literally given this life, and it's incredible.
When you said that about the dog as well, oh God, I listen to so many podcasts, honestly. And I was listening to something about like how dogs like don't fight each other. Like I know like people's dogs can kind of like, oh, like have play fights and whatever, but they don't judge each other. They're not like, you know, one time one's like sniffing its butt, and then it comes around and it's like, go away, and then it comes back and they're friends again. And you know what I mean? It's like
they don't hold any grudges.
Yeah, they don't hold grudges in life. But I know, like, you know, sometimes it's okay to hold grudges, because sometimes people are just not very nice, and you don't need to keep people in your life who aren't nice to you.
Absolutely. Yeah, because I think that's another reflection of your self-worth as well. Just exactly what he's mentioning right at the very beginning. If you think that you're important, you're worth more, you wouldn't tolerate this sort of behavior or these sort of feelings that you're experiencing when you're around these people. So yeah.
And it's complicated because as well, like, I don't want to take away from the fact of, I almost feel like you have to caveat everything with something as well, where I'm like, it's not easy to end relationships with certain people in your life as well. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
that as well. I almost feel like you always have to kind of.
There's like a pro and a negative to like literally every single concept,
yeah.
And then there's a little bit in between.
Yeah,
because then it's like, okay, I've made this decision.
And
then it's like, how, why, where? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? There's so many questions in between.
So everything's just layers upon layers upon layers.
Yeah, and it's like the richest people wish that they was poor again. The poorest people wish that they were rich. You know, the person who's married wants to be single. The person who's single fantasizes about being married. Do you know what I mean? So it's like so weird how sometimes we always want the opposite. And then sometimes when we get it, we want to be right back at the middle.
Yeah. And I think like people need to live their lives for themselves as well, because I think it's like,
it's hard to know though. I think as well, like with like social media and everything, I watched this one podcast and it was like the paradox of your 20s. And I struggle with this so much, where I'm like, where you see so many different people's lives and so many different options of life and yourself, of who you could be and what you would experience on a daily basis. And it's like that paradox of like, which one do you want to choose? Because there's so fucking many. Whereas before social media, you'd only really have the people that you grew up with schooling on your street and the Tom Dick, like whoever you'd meet.
Yeah.
Whereas now we could see somebody who's gone from being 40k in debt to a millionaire in 12 months or something. And it is insane because it's like, well, how somebody please tell me, how do I enjoy and live my life? And it's like, I don't have the answer, hence the YouTube channel. But I do think it's interesting, all of the different ways that we can appreciate just being alive without trying to achieve something or creating. Have you ever had like a weird feeling of like what's your purpose in life? What does life mean?
I've actually never had that, you know.
Have you not?
No, I've never had that, like, because I'm very like, I don't know what it is. I think when I was younger, it's just not something that would ever cross my mind.
Yeah.
And then as I got older and then I went to uni and did the course that I'm doing, I'm like, this is what I'm meant to do. Like, this is
nice.
Literally what I'm supposed to do in life is, you know, support people and be there for people. And that it just feels like it's so cheesy again, but I'm like, this is just like my calling. Like, I love talking.
Yeah.
Obviously. And I just love kind of like supporting people and being there for people. So I've never had that, but I do know that is a thing, like imposter syndrome as well is quite a big thing as well for the younger generation. Have you heard of that before as well? Like where people are like, why am I here? I'm not supposed to do this. And I'm like, you're doing it and you are.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you are.
Yeah. Nice. And that's really nice that you sort of found your like calling and purpose and it felt really aligned to you. And if you love talking and you listen to so many podcasts, I think your podcast is calling you to start one as well.
I would love to do a podcast, you know, I'd absolutely love it.
I'll try and export this into just an audio and send it over just in case you did want to ever post it as like your first little like I don't know, teaser, just to see what it looked like having your branding and whatever there.
I would love it.
I think you should, I don't know.
Maybe
obviously I'm going to say go for it. I'm going for it.
Into a series.
You are, sorry?
Maybe we'll have to talk again and we'll have to make it into our own series.
Yeah. I would love that, actually.
I don't know how to talk to myself. I need someone to talk to. I can't just talk to myself.
Well, I'm always here. We can just like chat away. Or I'll just hear and listen. Because I love it. I think you've got so many phenomenal insights. And like, I think like your vibe, I mean, it might be completely wrong, but I feel like you're so like, no bullshit, you're like straight to the point in such like a loving, caring, like quite a funny way, but it feels like you're just so grounded and like real.
That's so nice. You know? Especially as we've never met us before, so that's really nice. That's lovely. Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. Would you like to end our interview?
Yeah. What have we got? A last question? Was there another question, or was that it?
I mean, I feel like we've gone very off script.
Well, that's what happens when you have a podcast.
Oh, yeah. Now we're talking. Very important question, actually. How can people work with you? What can they expect? And what results do you deliver to your clients?
So people can, I need to make a website. I did have a profile on Psychologist Helen, but people can email us. You can put my email down.
I found you on LinkedIn as well, didn't I?
Yeah, my LinkedIn isn't great, to be honest. It hasn't got a lot on it. But yeah, people can email my email address. I do need to sort a website out. And what was it? Oh, like, what can people get for? I think, like, for me, like, I always say to people, like, I'm just me. Like, this is who I am. I almost feel like people kind of like, when I started doing my counselling course, I used to think like, and this is very judgmental, like that, you know, people would be wearing like a flowy skirt and like loads of beads, which like is a counselor, which is such a stupid thing to think, like when I look back now, when I was younger. But I'm like, for me, I'm like, what you see is what you get. Like I'm not like, obviously it's very different in counselling because I'm not going to tell people what they should do, and you know, it's about working together. Like I want to be there to empower someone. Like my counselling that I had, and I still see my counsellor now like once a month, and I absolutely like adore her. She's just amazing. And she's just empowered me, and I'm very kind of passionate about what I do in regards to kind of, I want to be there. I want people to be able to see how fucking amazing they are. And I probably swore a lot in this interview as well. So sorry about that. But yeah, so I think for me, obviously, and as well, like I'm kind of there to like challenge someone as well. Like if somebody wants that, like I work with a person the way that they kind of like want as well. Do you know what I mean? Everybody's so different that, you know, like not every way is good for one person. But for me, I think I just like bring my personality into that room. Like I'm no different to how I am, like even with like clients and things like that. I'm just kind of like me, but obviously I'm more professional. I don't swear as much.
I think you should be like, it comes with the package. It's a bonus.
I swear, I'm like, yeah, that does sound shit. And my passion is like, my friends always say, like, the biggest thing that I say to people is when they're telling me a story and they're telling me something that I'm like, that behavior is not okay. Because, like I say, like, my previous relationship just was it wasn't good. And I'm like, that is not okay. So that's basically my line that my friends will say is, I'm like, that is not okay. That is not okay.
We are setting a boundary from today, and this is what you're gonna do.
I'm like, no. So I get a bit feisty. One of my friends is like, Helen, sometimes you just need to shut your mouth. And I'm like,
fuck no.
I just can't.
Yeah, we're just gonna let it out. Love it. Yeah. Another quote that I love. Do you have a favourite quote?
I have a favourite quote. I don't know. I never think of things on the spot, you know. There's so many things that I like, but I don't necessarily think about, like, I don't know, like I'm trying to think. I don't know, like, love thyself.
No, please. Please, come on. We can do better than that. But what I was going to say, you can still think as I'm talking. I was listening to, it was Alex Hormozy and I think maybe Chris Williamson, might be wrong, but his thing that his wife told him was like, never dilute yourself. Like never under any circumstances dilute yourself. So I don't know if that's me saying swear at your clients.
Yeah. Never dilute yourself. I think it's like, you know, I always say to people, I'm like, you know, it's that age-old saying, and I'm like, God, I'm like proper getting all like using sayings that my mom would say it was and things like that. Like about kind of like, you know, that like the saying that I do like, which is really old. I don't know who says it, but it's like treat people like how you want to be treated. Like there's all these things that people do and treat people in these ways, but it's like you would actually, if it's not a very nice way, you would not want to be treated that way. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like treat people how you would want to be treated, and if somebody's not treating you the way that you want to be treated, then run a mile.
Just keep going.
Just run.
Love that.
That's my advice.
Hey?
That's my advice.
Yeah, love it. Like it, 10 out of 10. Beautiful. Okay, well, thank you so much. I've had a lot of fun. If you'd like to do another one in a couple of months or something, I'd love to do that as well because it's been awesome.
Yeah, let me know how you're getting on. But yeah, I've loved it.
Me too. Right, take care. Thank you so much. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed this. Let me know your opinions in the comments. They are welcome.